I noticed I just had to agree to that. Nice little pop-up. Yeah.
Did you say yes?
No, I said only if edited.
With that in mind,
with some
everybody,
special filters. Yeah.
welcome to episode 70 of Get Out a Wrap. I'm joined by Mark Turner, who runs all things operations for BPA Quality. And actually, Mark, you're the very first person to write a review about this podcast. And you were one of the first people that was actually like, yeah, this is a good idea, and I like the name. So right back at the start, you've always been a big supporter. So thank you very much.
I'll take that. Take that. Maybe I should write a couple of more reviews, hey, on this one anyway.
Yeah. So we are here specifically, you said not to talk about yourself.
Which anybody listening to this after will be very surprised at. But
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
But we're here to talk about something that is a real bonus for working for BPA. The number of challenges that you've organised and that we've done as a company. We've got one coming up we'll talk about in a sec, but it's really about, even in these times of COVID, this sort of challenge and what it can do for people. So what are some of the things that you've organised for us to do over the years?
I mean, it might be worth mentioning what triggered some of this, because we've been doing this. I look back not so long ago and been doing these since 2010. And the first event I ever joined was one that the old Northamptonians Rugby Club organised in 2010, which was the Three Peaks Challenge. Never done anything like that in my life. I think I said yes to it one evening post-game and absolutely loved it. Really difficult event, and I know loads of people have done it over the years. And I decided to organise that event when I was at Finian the following year. And we've done something similar ever since. We've done a number of Three Peak challenges. We've done something called the Three Lakes Challenge, where you row across the three lakes in the Lake District and then cycle between them. That was pretty brutal, although only 12 hours. We did the 24 peaks. I only finished that this year, third attempt. That's probably the most brutal one to date. I'd say every other year we've done the Three Peaks Challenge, which you've joined a good few times.
You're being very polite, because I've been beaten. I've still not done all three in the 24 hours, and it's going to be my swan song. So the next time we do it, which is
next year?
Next year is
Next year is when we're doing it. Yeah. So anybody listening to this will get a bit of advance warning that that's kind of our event plan for next year. Although I do want to put a little bit of a twist on it, because we've done it a few times, and I feel like
naked,
probably with some clothes on, although it will be in June. But yeah, some little twist, maybe something a little bit more relaxing on the start or end of it. I don't know, but I know a lot of the team are very keen to do that event, having tried it a few times. I think I've attempted it 6 times, and I've only done it twice in 24 hours. And even when I did it twice in 24 hours, you're talking within 40 minutes. So it's always a challenge when we've been doing it with a large group anyway, because you've got so many variables. People walk at different paces, people have prepared in different ways, and you've just got to, you've got to go with the flow on all of those. So it is quite difficult, especially when you're doing it in groups, to achieve something like the 24 hours. And I know we'll probably get to this, but that isn't really the whole purpose of doing events anyway. They're great things. Well, they're great things for me personally. They're a great thing to have in the diary to look forward to have a reason to get fit for, keep active for. You get to spend some time often with people that you may have not worked with much during your time. They may be in different departments, maybe different sites. And in this year's case, we're going to be doing an event with people that we haven't even met yet. So because they joined the company, within the last sort of 12 so months. So a big part of it is doing something as a group. And raising that money as well. We've been really good at raising some good money. We always sort of set ourselves at least a minimum of £5,000 when we do some of these events, and we generally always hit it and sometimes exceed it. So that's a big part of it as well. And I know the charities that we've raised for over the years really appreciate it. So that is also a big part of it.
Let's go to the start then and think about for people listening who maybe they haven't organised any of these types of challenges before. You do the organisation. What advice would you share to people?
On all of these, I think do the event first before you attempt to try and take it on. Some of the events we've done, we've organised through guides as well, so there's always that added bonus. Some events you've got to take that next step, and you've got to get the professional assistance to make sure that everybody's safe and everything. So we did that on the 24 peaks. We had a number of guides, and luckily we did, because some of our team had to be guided off sort of midway through the challenge. But something like the 3 Peaks Challenge, it was important to have done it first, to know what it's about, think about the logistics of it, the importance of the support crew, and all the risks associated with it. So that was a big part of it for me. And as we've done it over the years, we've especially on the 3 Peaks, we've got quite a slick operation now with that. We've got a group of individuals that put their hand up and always do it, and that makes everything sort of run quite smoothly. But for me, the important thing is get that experience in it, especially with some of the events we do. You know, they're often outdoors in the elements. You'll know from our last 3 Peaks Challenge on Scarfell Pike, I mean, when we arrived up there at like 3 in the morning or whatever it was, the weather was just, I mean, the number of people that just said, I do not want to get out of the van. And it's understandable, because it's tough. It's really tough. But if you've done it before, you can prepare people, you know, tell them it's going to be worse than it actually is.
Well, this is what you were doing just now before we started recording about our latest challenge. So a must have in terms of the organisation, right, is actual experience as the organizer, or people who are organising as having done the event, right?
Yeah.
How, and then just in terms of like sharing it, what are the steps that you take? So for people listening in their company that think, you know what, I'd love to get our guys on a challenge. Where do you start? You've got that experience, but then where do you start in terms of organising?
Yeah, I mean, what we've done over the last good few years is you test the appetite. I tend to have a few conversations with people within the business, and I test the initial appetite for it. When you're confident that there is a reasonable appetite for it, you go out there with a bit of a launch. We often call it the big BPA challenge, and historically, certainly at BPA, we get flooded with interest. So on the Race of the Stones event that we're doing on Saturday, I think I had about 75 people initially put themselves forward for that, and we eventually had over 40 sign up for it. And that wasn't on a huge amount of information, actually. We shared top level concept of what it was, but even on our conversation before this, there's still bits of information that you were not familiar with, such as how far it is. Yeah, I think we just added 20 miles to your assumption. Initially, it's gauging the interest, it's going out there and launching it. We from experience, it's good to get a bit of commitment from people. So historically, what we'd like to do is some sort of small deposit, which we often just put towards charity. You know, we're not doing that necessarily to cover the cost of the event. Like I say, some of these we've organised a few times, so we've got a good method of keeping costs down. But I think getting a small deposit from people is key. It's people signing up to something. There's a lot of work that goes into these events, both ourselves that organise it, because it's not always just me, and then the organisers themselves. So a bit of commitment up front helps. The last 12 months has seen, for example, on our latest challenge, a big change in participation of who's going on the event. I think I've switched out and switched back in probably about 15 people, probably in the last 2 or 3 months too, because circumstances change. So there's been a lot of admin around it, but we know when Saturday morning it'll pay off on the start line.
And what do maybe there's people that in the leadership teams might need convincing. What are the benefits of doing this?
You know what? You only have to listen to the people post event, to talk to them during the events, what it gives people. On the last challenge that we did on the 3 peaks, I literally, even on the last day, we had people asking, are we going to do it again next year? Because they got so much out of it. It stretched them both physically and mentally, in many cases beyond what people expected. And I think they liked to be pushed, but they also liked, it's good to have certain things organized for you as well. Some of these guys can rock up and join an event and just focus on getting through it, and not all of the the admin or anything else associated with it. For me, the repeat participation and interest shows you. And we're not even, even some of the people have done the same events. We've got people that have done the 3 peaks 3 or 4 times. But every year we do generally get interest from those that have done a previous challenge, and then you get obviously, new interest. And the word of mouth has spread. People hear, they see all the pictures on Facebook, social media, Twitter, whatever it is, Instagram, and they want to be a part of that. Because everybody's smiling in those photos, like we will be on Saturday and Sunday. So, I am conscious when I'm doing these events of capturing some moments that reinforce how important they are. So I am looking for that picture of people smiling, because, that's what we'll use when we launch the next event. For me, I know they're successful because of the interest we get, the feedback we get. And you do see and witness people doing similar things afterwards themselves in their own time. You suddenly start people doing other mountain walks or other long walks, cycling events or whatever it is. They suddenly realize there's a lot of events out there that they can independently sign up for and keep that kind of interest going.
I think there's something about the experiences that you gain. I don't think I look back on each one and think, actually, there's some real low moments, but actually then what follows that are moments when you're laughing so much that your sides hurt, or sometimes at other people's low moments. But I without getting too poetic about it, there's things about where you can actually see the human spirit. I'm thinking of one particular guy stuck on, I think it was Ben Nevis, where there was snow. It was kind of I think the snow I found a surprise in summer, that it was knee deep, and one of our team was literally moving one step at a time. And the fact that he carried on. It was like a very, very slow but uplifting movie.
Yeah. And you know what? I know who you're referring to, and that person is on this week's challenge.
I know.
And that tells you a lot.
Yeah, there's so many, like, for me, I didn't do Scarfell, but then it got to Snowdon and it was chucking it down and getting up and down Snowdon. It was horrible, but it was brilliant. It was absolutely brilliant. My brother-in-law calls this, and it's perfect, because I was I think you come back with so many stories as well, don't you? My brother-in-law, who's an outdoor, this is his job. He's an out. You'd love him. He calls it type 1 and type 2 fun. So type 1 fun is you look forward to it, you enjoy doing it, and afterwards is brilliant. Type 2, you don't look forward to it, you don't always enjoy doing it, but then afterwards you love it, and it's just this amazing kind of experience that there
is a huge sense of achievement on some of these things. And you know what, we're not picking what I would call straightforward easy events either. the Race of the Stones, that we're doing this weekend, it's a tough event. Yeah, you'll have some people walk it, some people run it, jog it, no doubt, towards the end of day 2, crawling it. But it's, I did it in 2019, and I underestimated it. Just the amount of time that you're on your feet. When we did the Race to the Kings, I mean, our feet felt like someone had been hitting them with a cricket bat for a couple of hours. They just, but when you've done it and you cross that line and you get your medal, you suddenly start to get exactly what you're referring to. You suddenly start to think, wow, that was a really tough, but in most cases, enjoyable event. And you get to see some great places. Yeah.
I remember the campsite. It's just rows and rows and rows of individual tents, and going to the toilet in the middle of the night and just hearing, it was like a cramp accordion. So it's like people having cramp in different tents. Let's talk about then. So the Race to the Stones. What does that even mean?
Well, it starts at Luke and it's basically a 100-kilometer, like I say, run, walk, jog, different choice for different people, heading towards the Avebury Stones. It's a beautiful route. They call it, and I sort of wrote it down here, but it's considered the oldest path in Britain. And I've got from memory, the most amazing thing about this particular route is, and what I can remember from it is, so much of it, you're kind of you feel like you're in the middle of nowhere. And given where you are in the country, I kind of expected to be walking through housing estates or past a petrol station or something like that. And one of the big surprises I had when we did it a couple of years ago was just how remote some of the paths are and how beautiful it is, walking through fields and everything else, a little bit of woodland as well. And so much of it is like that. And I found that motivated me when I was doing it, because I just felt like I was in one of these quite unique, beautiful places in Britain. I'm sure, like many people and yourself, when you're sometimes doing your runs around your street on a path or on a road, I sometimes personally get a bit of a dip. It doesn't inspire me often to sort of just run the same routes or run around sort of, the housing estates and stuff. But that particular route itself was stunning, really stunning. And what's great, certainly for about the first half of the Saturday, you're walking with so many people. I mean, you've got hundreds and hundreds that are, they're obviously all starting at different times, but you throughout the day, you are meeting so many people along the way, all doing it for different reasons. Largely all doing it to raise money, which is great. There's a lot of personal stories that you come across along the way. People often have it sort of on their t-shirts and everything else. And the organisers, Threshold Sports, they've got this event to a T. When I talk about, having done it before and all that kind of stuff, they have got a very slick operation. From every pit stop that you do, and you would have experienced that on Race to the Kings, they do look after you. It's a proper pit stop.
It is. You get refueled, and thankfully for my feet, someone was helping me every 5K, isn't it?
To be fair, though, there was a reason why you didn't have great feet. Yeah. Do you want to share that?
I thought it would be a good idea to wear brand new walking boots, and I didn't have walking socks. I had football socks. So football socks and walking a long distance
brand new walking boots
in brand new walking boots is number one tip for you out there. Don't do it.
You gave yourself a different type of challenge, didn't you? I mean, to be fair, I don't think your feet were the worst I saw during that challenge, but
that was a real challenge. And as you were saying before we started recording, I always say yes to these things when I'm like buzzing. Yeah. And then they kind of creep up on, especially in this year of COVID, this one's really crept up on me.
There is a window and I don't know whether we get it bang on, but there is a window post-event.
Yeah.
When you talk about, when you reflect on it and you suddenly think, that was a really good event. That I think is the moment you launch the next one.
That's to go out for press gagging, isn't it? That's like get
Yeah,
everyone.
that's the one where everybody's buzzing about it. You know, that anything that you didn't quite like about it, you've forgotten about. You've been almost sort of you've had your brain changed into thinking everything was great because the only photos you're seeing are people smiling and loving it. So yeah, it's there is a window where the appetite's there, and we seem to get you every time, which is good.
Yes. You also, I like the games that you've organised as well. So we've had the strop flamingo and the strop sunglasses. Do you want to tell us about them?
Yeah, so that again, that was taken from some rugby tours that we used to do with the ONs. And basically, we used to have a strop suit with the rugby club. So if you moaned about anything, said anything negative, it seems easy to avoid that. But the problem is everybody then tries to goad you into saying something negative or having a moan. So, and the art is to draw someone into having to carry, in one of the examples, a blow up pink flamingo. So, yeah, and what you do is you find that initially the pink flamingo gets passed around by quite a few people, and then it sort of lands on the odd couple. Somebody just has had enough, and everything that comes out of their mouth is a little bit considered negative or a bit whiny, and yeah, they end up carrying an inflatable toy of some sort, or glasses. We had
Yeah, I remember
glasses.
Race to the Stones. It was a pair of ridiculous sunglasses.
Yeah.
And it's a really good one because as you come around the corner and you see yet another hill and you're knackered and you just go, oh, for God's sake, another effing hill. Someone's going, get him. He's got give him the strop glasses.
Yeah.
So,
There is an important thing behind it. I guess when it came from the rugby, the rugby tours, you want everybody in a great mood. You don't want anybody bringing the group down. So it's almost like, and with the rugby club, we often put people in a suit, or like a fancy dress outfit of some sort, a big chicken or something. There was a lot worse actually, it did make a difference. It put often a funny spin on, like you say, a little dip or a dark moment. I've had a few people throw it at me on some of the challenges and just blatantly refuse to carry it anymore. But even that was quite funny. So yeah, it's you reminded me of something actually, because I haven't actually considered the strop toy but that's because so many of us get spread out. So it's quite difficult to do. But I think when the group's close, yeah, it works quite well.
we're gonna need to do a few. I think even like when we were doing the Three Peaks and stuff, the journey up there, just the laugh in the minibus, just all listening to getting music tracks going, and on the events, like I've got memories of, like I say, you kind of think you've hit rock bottom, and sometimes it takes somebody else to help you out. Do you remember I think it was Ben Nevis, I just sat down and I was like, no, I'm done. For Mountain One, and Jeff at the time, who isn't like this in his real life, is he? Just gave me some like gladiatorial speech straight out of Gladiator. And basically then just spoke to me like he was my sergeant major and said, get up. And it absolutely worked, and it sticks with me to this day about, when you think you're at rock bottom, actually it's that human spirit thing about seeing, the guy I mentioned earlier. It's just so many things like that. Obviously we've got some people like yourself and Jeff, actually supreme like athletes, but actually it's when you see, that's really impressive, don't get me wrong, but it's when you see people and you think this is going to be a struggle and they just get on with it. It's just 100%. Great.
Yeah, agree. It's and that is when I think back to the first Three Peaks I ever did, I wasn't at my fittest, and I did underestimate. I had no idea what it was. Never been up any of those mountains, and found it brutal. I remember being at the top of Snowdon, and I think I text my wife, and I had a moment. I had a moment. I was physically drained from it because of everything we've gone through probably in the last 24 hours. But it was that feeling and that sense of achievement that you just start to get. It gets a bit addictive. Certainly, I crave for it. Because you want to know you've pushed yourself. You haven't always got to push yourself to the absolute limit, but because you want to be careful. But it's nice to know that you've pushed yourself, and that's what we'll be doing. As a big group this weekend. Every single person. We talk about Jeff Bardell. I mean, he's running it all the way through.
Yeah,
I mean, he's never ran that distance all the way through. He's never done an official event like this. And as we know, he's trained incredibly for it. And I've got everything crossed that we've got an individual in the team who's going to achieve something on a major scale. I mean, that's impressive. To be able to run all the way through is impressive.
He's going to do it.
He will. He
is going to do it by hook or by crook, isn't he?
Well, he has to get back for a family event anyway. So
yeah.
I
was speaking to him yesterday. He's talking about train times and stuff. And I was like, my God.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I think the other benefit as well is that you truly get to know people. You can work with people. I know that there'll be, because of COVID and being in different teams and whatever, there's actually going to be people on the event that I won't have seen or talked to since the last event, and I know it won't be awkward. It would just we'll just get into it. Some people have used it as a chance to pitch ideas and stuff, which is a bit challenging when you've got people talking about work and you're climbing up.
You've got a pitch being given.
Maybe save this one. But just to get to know people, people that you work with are fascinating and lovely, and you don't often realize it until you're doing something like this, not work related.
No.
It's a shared experience, but it's a shared tough experience. I think it's
one of the things that's been difficult when you asked earlier about what do you do to prepare for these events, stuff like that. As you know, historically, when we've done things like the Three Peaks, we've done a taster event. So with the Three Peaks, we always do a same day trip up Scarfell, because it gives you a real flavour of being in a minibus for absolutely hours and climbing what I think is the most difficult out of the three. That's been really difficult in the last 12 months. We've really struggled to do these taster events. The difference about this challenge is people have had to take a lot of the kind of preparing for the event themselves personally. And so you're grinning.
That's
so we
five-a-side football twice a week.
Yeah, exactly. So that'll be interesting, because even I don't feel as prepared that I would like to be, because normally we throw in some big group walks, and they've been really tough to do that, because of the restrictions. So that's hopefully next year we won't have that kind of same challenge.
And we're going to sound like from the characters from the Harry Enfield show about charity, but it is something that's really important to all of us, is that we're supporting a charity that is centered around the community that we work in. Do you want to just talk about that?
So we in the last few years, we chose to support the Exeter Foundation, an amazing Exeter Foundation, amazing initiative. It's something that historically the Exeter Chiefs back in the day, there was used to get a lot of requests for things like doing collections and match days for various events. As they've become more successful, amazingly successful in the last 4 or 5 years, at a certain point they just had to formalize it. And now what they do is they support a huge number of local charities. Some of them I captured down. So you've got things like Action for Children. You've got the Exeter Dementia Action Alliance. You've got the Exeter Leukemia Fund, Cancer Force Charity. So some of these and the Royal Marines Charity. So some of them very familiar, and some of them not so familiar, but really important that we support them. A lot of the charities, as people will appreciate, have not been able to raise the type of funds they normally would raise in the last 12 months. And so I was really keen that we did our bit and made sure that we sort of raise the sort of funds that we would historically raise for them, to make sure that those charities are getting the money. And what's amazing is we had a bit of a lull, and I started to have a bit of a dip, because I sort of looked at our fundraising total about 2 months ago, and I thought, wow, this is really tough. I sense there was a bit of fatigue out there in terms of, raising money. But the last sort of 3 weeks, my God, I think there was a couple of days ago, we raised like £270 in like 12 hours. It was like, so the team have just been relentless in the last couple of weeks, and we're getting very close to that 5,000 target we set ourselves. Hopefully we'll exceed it, and I'm sure that'll be really welcome by all of the charities that the foundation supports.
I love the concept of the foundation in that because I guess any organization where people want to make a difference, and that's a great thing about our industry, is the sheer amount of not just money but volunteerism and that kind of altruism that exists. But often it's difficult to be able, how do you decide between charities? The foundation's great that it is a collection of so many meaningful, worthwhile organizations that might not get the same level of contributions by themselves. So
especially during the last 12 or 14 months, a lot of the shops and stores and stalls and things that they would normally collect money from, they've not been able to do that. The big thing about the Exeter Foundation, it really ticked the box for the group, for the business, in terms of, because as you point out, it supports so many. It's not like we've targeted one area or one type of charity. It ticks an awful lot of boxes for people, and so people, it was one of the most easiest decisions I think we made, and it was warmly received by our employees, because we shared the link. Those that were really interested in knowing who it was supporting saw the broad range of charities that they cover, and it was like, yes, that makes a lot of sense. Back in the day, we also supported charities like Macmillan, who do a great charity. And I'm sure we'll get to support them again in the future as well. But most recently, the Chiefs Foundation is the one we've been doing.
So over like the last 5 years, how much has been raised?
Well, like I say, we always do at least 5,000 just on the events that we do. But that's just not the only charity that the funds that we collect throughout the year. I think there was one year where we were close to 10,000 because we did some other events, cake sales and things like that. So it does vary, but I've always, on the challenge events, set ourselves sort of a minimum of 5K, which if you're able to get across each year, it's noticeable.
Right. It's brilliant. How can people listening donate?
So we have a link. I don't know whether you'd be able to add the link when you share this. So we can put the link on there. Might be worth also putting a link for the Exeter Foundation so that people can see. I recognise it's local, but some of those charities people will be familiar with, but if you could share those when you share this, that'd be great. I recognise there's a lot of people raising money for different things, but but a lot of people aren't walking 100 kilometres. So no, they're not.
What the hell am I doing? Honestly, is it wrong that I'm thinking of ways I can get out of it?
It is now, because I don't really want to do the admin associated with it, and I don't think we're going to let you. I don't think you've got a reason that you can think of. I think even
I don't want to do it. Is that enough?
No, not really, because when you've done it,
I love it.
When you've done it, you will love it. And also, you've done, this will be 2 out of the 3 that they do, because there's the race to the castle. At some point, want to tick all 3 of those, and that is a huge achievement to have done.
I should say the last one, the race to the Kings. If there'd been a guy in a 18th century diving suit, he would have done it quicker than me. But I did it. They were packing up. I think
you're being harsh. No,
they were packing up. I said, "Where's my medal?" They were like, "Oh, it's in a box over there."
I always thought we started late.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah, I do remember us walking across the line, and
they were packing up.
Yeah, they were, weren't they?
Yeah, they were like, "Oh, look."
Yeah, we were last to get a snack for sure. Yeah,
I had to check my medal to make sure it wasn't the year before.
Well, you've got another incentive to finish. You've got football.
Yeah, exactly. God. We do have a laugh though. I think for me, that's the overriding memory of all of these things, whether it is driving in between the mountains of the 3 peaks, to just some of the conversations that you have with people or the things that happen. It's just belly, like proper
and we've
belly
missed a lot of
laughing.
that. We haven't had that, that opportunity to spend some time with some of our team for a long time. People are looking forward to this. They wouldn't give up their weekend if they weren't.
Yeah,
even you. Yeah, I know deep down you're looking forward to it. It's been a long time coming. We waited. I mean, we were supposed to be doing this last year.
Yeah, I am. But just remember this, and this isn't. We're not making this up. I convinced myself the distance was shorter until the start, before we started talking just now.
You did.
So
it's 100K.
I'd underestimated by 20, 30 kilometers. I thought
I'd done 10 mile a day, I think it is. Yeah.
I thought I'd done this before, and I haven't.
Yeah, but you're going to do it in proper walking shoes and normal socks this time, huh?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I am.
I'm
going to be heavily reliant on the likes of you and your kind of go-to people to keep me going.
You'll be fine. Promise. Just don't drink too much cider on Saturday night.
That's not going to happen. I think they had some deck chairs there last time, and I couldn't get out of it once I'd sat in it.
Yeah. I think they're planning to have something similar this time.
I have got a massage gun though, so that's coming with me.
Are you taking that?
Yeah.
Wow.
For sure.
Yeah, they're not offering massages at the site this time because of COVID. So there's a few things they can't offer. So
like what else?
Well done, you. Well, we like another one of the big participants. We've got a dedicated marquee for our team. They don't all know that yet, which is great. Nice and close to the bar for those that are thirsty after their first 50K. And then there's things like fire pits and stuff like that. It's the design of the event and the thought process that goes into it. The guys that do it at Threshold, I'm blown away by. When you look at the setup, it's something that if you've got an interest in doing things like small events and stuff like that, you're seeing how it's done properly. And they've had a tough year, so
maybe we could do some little short episodes to get out a wrap, like on the move.
That would be great.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. We did one of those once on Twitter.
We did. I had a look at them the other day. One of them was me telling you, we were saying that we should just sack the whole thing off because people hadn't raised enough money.
Yeah, that was one of ours where we didn't. We thought we'd raise more money on the day, and I think we'd raised 180 quid or something.
And we were like, I was struggling. I was like, yeah, sod this. And on the way, we got overtaken by a hearse on the way, and that was going to be the
we got
car.
overtaken by quite a lot of stuff. Yeah. But we finished it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all about the medal. It's all about the medal.
It's all about the medal. Yeah. Exactly. It's all about the medal.
So if this hasn't motivated people to listen, to go out and sign up for any sort of event next year, here's a question quickly. Do you get people that say they're only physical challenges though? Why?
Yeah, and it's a great question. And I do a lot when I look back at the ones we've done. They've got a point. It personally, it's my area of interest, and my commitment is that I'll put as much effort as I can in there with other people too, to make one of those events, that kind of event, happen. There's a lot that goes into it, and that's my commitment to do that. I guess there's always the opportunity for people to put other ideas forward. Some of the practice events that we do, they're not as extreme as the main event. We've done things like sort of walking from the office and along the coast down here. So some of the prep events that we've done, people can join. We've had families on some of the big walks that we've done that have been prep events for things like the Three Peaks. But I recognise certainly the events that I've kind of sort of driven or been a part of trying to get off the ground. Yeah, they're generally events that come with an element of a challenge to them.
Do you know what my counter to that is, mate? Is you would be surprised when the minibus rocks up we've got all shapes and sizes getting off that minibus. We've got people all over
Correct.
all over the spectrum on preparation, what they've done in the past, the extent to which they like sporting activities, and everyone gains a massive amount from doing it. It's that, again, it comes back to that thing we spoke about at the start. It's the human spirit and putting yourself out of your comfort zone and the feeling you get afterwards, and also the camaraderie, like doing it together as a group.
Yeah, there's that balance, getting that balance right as well, which I've learned as we've done more of these, around the importance of doing the challenge and the importance of making sure everybody enjoys it. In the early days, very focused towards, getting these challenges done, hitting the 24 hours and everything. And certainly, my approach to them prior and during, I probably placed too much emphasis on communicating. People better be, getting prepared for this. They better be doing their long walks and everything else. And I think from experience, some of that, created a bit of well, it created I think it created a bit of anxiety for some people that, this was all about trying to do an event or something in a certain time. But over the years, I've recognized you get more from it when you focus a little bit less on that. There's always this sense of wanting to achieve it. I think everybody does the 3 peaks, knows what the 3 peaks, for example, is. Everybody generally wants to do it in 24 hours. But I think it's important that people realize that even just doing 3 of the mountains or 2 of the mountains or 1 of the mountains, or even trying it, whatever you set yourself. And really the event needs to accommodate that. So if you've got more than 1 minibus, 2 or 3 minibuses, so that you can slot the groups around to accommodate the different pace of people, that helps.
Yeah. I was in the OAP minibus.
There you was. I'm looking forward. If we need to get a video of you at the end of this weekend, I think you'll be quietly surprised, actually, at how well you nail it, especially given all of the stuff you've been doing in the last year. So I think you'll be surprised.
Yes.
You'll definitely feel the extra 10 miles each day, certainly the second day that you hadn't planned for.
I know,
because there is one bit on the second
ignorance
day
would have been bliss, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you one thing that on the second day to prepare yourself for, which I wish someone had told me, but you do walk back on yourself at the end.
Right.
It's the only time of the whole challenge where you kind of walk down, you go around the stones, but you come back up, and you're like, I'm walking over the same sort of ground that I walked back, and that mentally was a big challenge. And I wish someone had told me that, because when we turned around and I went to walk back up where it came from, my energy just dropped, because I just thought,
it can't be worse than the Race to the Kings was that, like, a vertical. Before the end of day 1, that's when you saved me by shouting runners and just made me laugh. Because I just wanted to stay there. I'm done. We're just going up a vertical, muddy, under trees. I don't even know. It wasn't a hill. What was it? I don't know.
It was just like a woodland path that had just been absolutely battered by the weather and 95% of the previous participants going before us. we basically got the remains of a completely overused path in the woods. With terrible weather. We paid the price for being at the back.
We did.
Yeah. We were literally, walking behind everybody else's carnage.
What are you hoping for? Let's end with this. What for you is going to be the end? When you're sitting there with your beer, watching England in the final, and you go, that was a good event. Because
I'm hoping I get a sense of that job done, and to get that sense of job done is that the general vibe, everything I'm hearing, everything I'm seeing, is that this was amazing, and that everybody loved it. And that, because when you get that feeling from it, it is all worth it. It is all worth it. And also that that it lives on a little bit. I know it sounds cheesy, but the concept of doing these every year lives on. I always feel like you could potentially be one bad challenge from this kind of thing stopping, and the business or people recognizing, maybe there's something else we should do, or we shouldn't just do this anymore. So you want to come away with that sense that everybody absolutely loved it, because then I walk away knowing, you know what, I've got the green light to do another one next year. And personally, I look forward to that a lot. So yeah, that's what I want.
So we've just decided we're going to do a series of little podcasts on the event. It might not be able to share video, but we'll certainly share. We can find a way. We'll share both.
Yeah, I'm taking a GoPro.
Everything that's going on, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But people, if you're listening, we'll keep you updated. Also, please do, any amount of sponsorship would make a massive difference. It's just giving, right, Mark?
Yeah, Virgin giving. Yeah. So it's not just giving, it's the Virgin money giving. Yeah,
Virgin money giving.
Yeah.
What do they need to look for? BPA?
Well, hopefully they'll see the link when you post it. So there's a link on there. But the actual, sorry, I didn't have it quite ready on there. But they will see a link that should say ukvirginmoneygiving.com/team BPA Quality Race Stones 2021.
Great. And we're going to smash it.
We are going to smash it. And I've just looked here, and we're getting, because we've got another £400 that we've collected offline, so we're just shy of the £4,000 mark. So I suspect in the next week or so we'll get very close to that 5K, which would be great. Especially
if any of the people listening, if you can help, that will be great. I mean, you'll literally be paying for my pain, other people's pain. What have I done?
You'll love it.
I will afterwards.
Yes. No, I think you'll love it. No, I think elements of it you'll love it during.
Yeah, true.
I think there's big parts of this you'll enjoy.
Yeah,
for sure. You'll definitely feel it Saturday night, but yeah.
I will. Thanks very much for organising these. Thanks for sharing.
No worries. Thanks for the invite.
Sharing what it's like, and thanks for coming on and always being a supporter of the podcast. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you early Saturday morning. Oh no, I'll see you tomorrow.
You'll see me tomorrow.
I can edit this bit out. Bye-bye.
Cheers, chap. See you later, mate.
Yeah, see you. Bye.